Anastasia, Podzniakova. Jessica Livingston.
And like I said previously, she's been known as a platform diver. She was solidly in third position, and
Amanda Miller
chosen to add a somersault and do a 3.5 instead of a 2.5.
Kassidy, Krug of Stanford. Lindsey Seagraves, senior from Auburn, a back 1.5 somersault, 2.5 twist free position, and a 2.8 degree of difficulty. Let's take a look at the results after the first 5 rounds on the 3-meter springboard. Lindsey Seagraves, her final dive.
Back 1.5 with 2.5 twists. It's a lower degree of difficulty, only 2.8. The highest degree of difficulty dives are 3.0 or above. Oh, she bent her knees in that twist. That was not an attractive twisting position. And even though she's been very steady, she's going to have to improve that position in the twist in order to be among the top 3 in a contest like this.
Primarily 7s for Seagraves, 58.80, giving her a final score of 347.90. Temporarily in second place.
Personal best.
Jessica Livingston, her final dive is a reverse 1.5 somersault, 2.5 twist free position, 2.9 degree of difficulty.
Now this would be huge for Jessica to end up in the top 3 because she's improved so much on springboard. And like I said previously, she's been known as a platform diver. She was solidly in third position, and this dive is good. It's not quite as strong and as balanced on the takeoff. She could be a little more stable in her midsection. She needs a little bit more work in her posture as she comes off the board, but it's a very good dive and should keep her in the top 3 unless somebody just comes up with a fabulous dive that was behind her, and that would be pretty tough to do.
Mostly 7s for Livingston, who this was her home pool at one time. Transferred from the University of Minnesota to Austin and the University of Texas. Amanda Miller of Purdue, attempting a forward 2.5 somersault, pike position. Attempting a forward 3.5 somersault, pike position, 3.1 degree of difficulty.
Yes, she's changing her dive. She wanted to see how she was doing in an NCAA competition. You can do that on the board. You can decide to do a different dive than you've listed in your program. And because she was in 8th place, has nothing to lose by doing a more difficult dive, she's chosen to add a somersault and do a 3.5 instead of a 2.5. And you know, it wasn't a real terrific 3.5, but it's good for her to do this dive in competition. This is the kind of dive that she's going to need to have if she's going to compete internationally for the United States, and she has gotten to that level. She's been invited to the international selection camps recently, and that is not far off for being a real good dive. Now, it's not going to score terrifically here because it was short of vertical, didn't quite make the rotations.
4.5s and 5s for Amanda Miller of Purdue. From the University of Texas, Mary Yarrison, forward 2.5 somersault, 1 twist pike position, a 3.0 degree of difficulty.
Oh, that is one of her best dives. I really like watching Mary do this because she keeps her form. She doesn't break position at all. She's very tall in the hurdle and stretched out. And it really is pretty. It's a lot of somersaulting and twisting. She does a double somersault, comes out, does 1 twist, and then goes in head first. Very competent for her last dive, and that should help her. She was in 7th.
Yarrison a score of 67.50 for a total of 339.30. Putting her momentarily in 4th place. Here's Lindsey Weigle, senior from Indiana. Her final dive is a back 1.5 somersault, 2.5 twist free position, and the degree of difficulty 2.8.
I would say she needs some 8s to be considered among the top 3. I think she needs some 8s here. And it's a very clean entry. I think she could stretch her feet just a little bit more as she goes into the water. But it is clean and it's pretty. But I think with a little bit more toe point as she enters the water, she could score 8s on this dive and be in the 70-point range. You see right there, the feet are just not quite stretched. They look a little floppy.
7s and 7.5s for Weigle, a score of 61.60 and a total score of 351.45. Last dive for Anastasia Podzniakova, a sophomore from the University of Houston. A reverse 1.5 somersault, 2.5 twist free position, and a degree of difficulty of 2.9.
Lovely, very nice. Now, my prediction is that she's going to break the record, but we have yet to see the leader dive, Kassidy Krug. The record on this is 382.50 points set by Christina Lucas in the consolation final. And this is just a very smooth, pretty dive. Again, the feet crossed just slightly in the twister. That might have been those 9s, but I still think it's good enough to break the record. And she will definitely get second place. We don't know if she'll get first or not.
7.5s and 8s. 68.15 for a total of 407.10 for the moment atop the leaderboard. Megan Farrow, senior from the University of Hawaii. Her final dive is a reverse 1.5 somersault, 2.5 twist, free position, 2.9 degree of difficulty.
Cannot catch first place Kassidy Krug that far ahead of Megan Farrow. That was a solid reverse 1.5 with 2.5 twists. If she could just be a little more patient, wait on the springboard a little bit longer, this dive would sky. And this is very smooth, very nice. You see her grab her hands going in the water, and divers do that in order to go in not only vertically but clean without making a splash.
Mostly 7.5s, 65.25 score, total of 353.75. It comes down to the final dive of the final round on the 3-meter springboard. Kassidy Krug of Stanford. Reverse 2.5 somersault, 1.5 twist, tuck position, 3.3 degree of difficulty.
This is the highest degree of difficulty dive being done in the meet, the only one of its kind being done in the meet. And she will make history by breaking the record, winning her second title of the NCAA championships, and she broke the record on 1 meter also. I think this sets Kassidy Krug up to possibly be the diver of the meet. And of course, we've got the 10-meter platform to go. Kassidy does not dive 10-meter, but look at this strong dive. A reverse 2.5 with 1.5 twist. No other woman doing this dive. She scored above 65 points on every dive she did and shatters the record that was set by Christina Lucas in the preliminaries and then beat by Anastasia Podzniakova from the University of Houston also, who is second place to Kassidy Krug.
Podzniakova didn't hold the record for long. That dive for Krug, 6.5s and 7s. She finishes 420.90, and Kassidy Krug, the titleist, she wins the 3-meter springboard. And here are the final results for the 3-meter springboard. Now let's take a look at our storyline brought to you by Coca-Cola. And when it came down to the springboard, both 1 and 3 meters, Cynthia, we had a dominant performance on both from Stanford senior Kassidy Krug.
Kassidy Krug's winning dive in the 3-meter event where she made history a second time. Kassidy set a record in both the 1 and 3-meter springboard events, winning both titles and picked up 40 huge points for the Cardinal of Stanford.